Everything seems to be getting more uncertain, from the weather to the economy. How do you best cope with these polarized and unstable times? And why is this all happening? Today we're discussing the reason for all of the stuff that's going on these days, how to cope, and even better, how to thrive. And after the discussion, we get to the most important part of this episode. The group frequency calibration associated with this episode is where the frequency work happens and where change actually occurs. So be sure to listen to that. Without releasing distortion patterns targeted by the GFC, the change you want will be more difficult to attain because you haven't addressed the root of the issue. If you like this episode, please hit subscribe by clicking on the red button. My name is Karen Cheong, and today in Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, we're discussing finding your center in a global meltdown.
These unstable times that we're talking about have been discussed. I don't even know if I would say discussed. They've been prophesized, actually, for generations now within Indigenous cultures. And I guess my question would be, is this time that I know I've been hearing it for long enough, the chaos that's about to ensue upon humanity. And I mean, there's all different varying degrees of, what this chaos is. I'd really like to understand what the purpose of this is. And did we, at a frequency level, wanting to rise in consciousness, is this part of the contract that we have to be able to move into this new consciousness?
Yeah. So, wow, those are a lot of really great questions. So what I would say is, yes, this is the time that has been prophesized for some traditions, centuries. We've been talking about it for quite some time. And it's different native traditions. I mean, it's not even just native traditions. It's been prophesized even in larger religions. So it is a time where we have the opportunity to move from one consciousness level to another. And it's not just on the human plane. So it's not like it's happening on the earth just to humans. It's not that. It's something that happens across the all that is. Let's call it so often, where we have the opportunity as beings to move from one consciousness level to another. And this time, as you say, has been prophesized for us to experience now as humans in this incarnation at this level of consciousness. So from my perspective, it is. And I'm excited about it because we've been waiting for this for a long time. So those of us who are older souls and have been incarnating in each lifetime, moving up towards this lifetime, where finally we get to be of a high enough resonance that we can make that jump. So what I'll also say is that some of us will make that jump in our bodies, meaning that we will raise our frequency vibration or raise our frequency resonance or our vibrational level, however you want to call it, enough in our bodies, meaning we'll have cleared enough of our distortion so that we can make that jump, okay, in our physicalness. For some beings, they're going to disembody, meaning they'll die. They'll leave their bodies in order to move into that higher consciousness level without their bodies. They'll have to recreate their bodies at that consciousness level, but they'll do it through what looks like dying to us. So yes, there is a lot of that movement that's happening now. It's what's resulting in a lot of extremity, a lot of polarity, not only in our political systems and all that sort of stuff, and also what was happening between nations, but also even in our weather. Like, the earthquakes that have been happening, the storms, the tremendous cold, like all this sort of stuff, the flooding, the drought, and there are people dying. And it seems like not only are people dying from all these different things, people are dying unexpectedly, randomly, for no reason, like people are dying. It seems like people have more stories of people around them that they know that have died in unexpected ways. And I don't mean have committed suicide or anything like this or been murdered. They just died and there's no reason to. They're healthy, they're young enough. It's not like they're frail and 85. They're dying even in unexpected circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear different factions of humanity screaming their answer to that question. There's a lot of chaos that's happened, especially in the last 2 years.
Yes.
But ultimately, I think it comes back to, again, it's been their choice the whole time. We can blame governments, we can blame media, but ultimately it comes back to the person, right? what path did they choose?
Yes. And all of this, as you say, or sort of implied, was that this is a time where there is chaos, where there is polarity. And in this time, what will you choose to do? And the reason, in part, it is so polarized is for us to look at it and to wake up.
Yeah.
To be like, I don't want to be at this consciousness level anymore. I don't want to be in fear, oppression, to have abuse of power, to have these things, greed, scarcity, all these things that have been so rife within this consciousness level. I don't want this anymore. I want to awaken to a higher level of consciousness and to deal with my stuff, to release it so I can experience something new and something different and of a higher resonating order. So, and we have free will. So I just want to make a note. It is your choice to move. It doesn't have to do with better than. So it's not like you have been deemed better than other people and now you get to move up. It's like, no, I actually don't want to experience this anymore. I want something better. I'm going to do the work to get there, right? To raise my vibration. It really comes down to one thing. Raise your vibration, end. If you do that, then you can access those higher level frequencies and maintain in that space. But otherwise, you're going to be too dense. You're not going to be able to do that.
Two things there for me. So vibration is synonymous with frequency.
Yes, frequency resonance. Yeah,
right.
I'm using that
I just
synonymously.
wanted to check that.
Yeah.
And the other thing for me is the evidence. A lot of people are, oh, well, it's not something you can see. It's just chaos. Full stop, the end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm hearing and seeing evidence from all different sources that the planet itself
Yes.
is evolving.
Yes.
We could say changing, but by all accounts, it seems to be evolving.
Yes.
Right? So how do we, because also there's an awful lot of prophecies that talk about this apocalyptic kind of moment. you know?
Yeah.
We have the North Pole, South Pole,
Flipping.
magnetic field. I mean, the magnetic field, according to NASA, and that is changing and it flipping. And so, how do we navigate this? You know, I know it comes right back to frequency resonance, but if the Earth is transforming, evolving, how do we navigate this?
Yeah.
You know, and take the body with us into the
yeah.
new consciousness.
Exactly. So, you know, I think part of this is recognizing how integral we are to the earth and how much she is part of us. We in our quote unquote modern culture forget how intertwined we are. She's our mother. You don't have physical form without the earth. She gives you the form. Like that's just the way it is. And so the thing about the earth that some of you may not know is that she holds multiple levels of consciousness. And when she decides to move in consciousness resonance, so meaning she jumps, those of us who are embodied have the opportunity to move with her. It's kind of like a birthing, right? So if you're not messing with a baby, like pulling it out or cutting the mother open, basically the baby's gonna come when the baby's ready. It's just like when it's time, baby's gonna come.
Yeah.
It's just like when a flower's gonna open, unless you're messing with it, it's gonna open when it's good and ready, right? You can't force the time of the earth. So the earth is it's a consciousness. It's not just a thing that we stand on, that we grow food on, that we drink water from. It's a consciousness. It's a powerful one. And we are very much of her. So when she chooses to move up in consciousness, like meaning help us to move, like flip into that higher level order, those of us who are embodied will be able to move more easily. That's why things are starting to shift on the earth plane. So how do you navigate all of this like that's happening, right?
Because there seems to be layers, right?
Yes.
You've got this very, well, the source of our body, the source of our life force in a way, the physical life force, seems to be the planet.
Yes, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
just to consolidate. And then you've got your emotional, your mental, and then this collective, you know, everything happening.
Yeah.
Fear, suppression, oppression. I mean, all the ugliness.
Yes.
As well as, you know, the beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems to be layered. So, carry on.
Yeah. So what I would say the biggest thing to do in this point in time, especially as times get more and more unstable and the collective starts to like freak out, right? Because it becomes more unstable. So now you're dealing not just with the instability, but the amplification of the instability because of the reaction. Yes. It really comes back to us and coming back into your center. So to do the work to find the center of yourself, the 0 point that you and I have talked about, this is episode 151, to bring yourself into the center of your body, aware, present moment of time, and to do the inner work, to do the work to release the distortion pattern so you can hold in your center. So you're not as triggered by what's happening and what apparently looks like around you. And that what happens is that cultivates not only internal strength, but your connection to your big S self. Your self is indestructible, infinite consciousness. So when you have that perspective, you're like, and you look at this tiny little human life, which is amazing, but so short, it gives you perspective. And you realize, okay, it's all happening in the divine unfolding of what is. And I'm part of that, which is amazing. So you can relax. It allows you to go into that surrender state and to not resist and to fight, right, of what is happening, so that you can be more at ease and hold your space better and have a bigger perspective and have compassion and have kindness and see the beauty, in addition to all the stuff that we're navigating.
Yeah, and enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Right? Because I think sometimes as well, if I'm in a collective, it doesn't matter whether it's a small group, a group of 3, and that fear arises. Okay, so then in that moment, that's my choice. Like you say, come back to, okay, what do I want to choose? Do I want to go into this, or do I want to hold my center? You know, remember that there's more than me, this human being.
Yes.
And that there's a grander plan unfolding.
Yep, there's a grander
Is that what
plan.
you're saying?
Yeah, and there's a grander me. You know, there's me as the big S self. I may not be aware of it so much. It's harder to be aware of the big S self when you're in fear. Yeah. Right? Because all you're feeling is fear. And that's what I call the little S self, the ego mind. And the ego mind kind of will amp up fear, you know? And especially when it's mirroring off of other people, it tends to amplify. Like, oh my God, like fear can spread really fast. You know, it's like fire. And so when that's happening, another question you can ask yourself is this mine? Is this fear even mine? Or is it someone else's fear that I'm picking up on or that has been expressed or whatever? And do I need to feel this? Because you might have been feeling fine, actually, until they went into fear. So that's their experience. Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't have compassion for their experience and an understanding of what their choice is and all that good stuff. But to know that that doesn't also have to be yours. You can hold your space. Recognize that that experience is theirs. It's not yours. And to hold your frequency resonance. Or, you know, we did a whole 1-year course called Full Spectrum Coherence Mastery, which is all about mastering your frequency bandwidth. Yeah. How to raise your own frequency resonance. This is in preparation for this time right now. It's a huge skill set, because to be able to understand that you have the authority to raise your own vibration, or said differently, raise your own frequency resonance, despite what's happening around you, and you have the internal strength and frequency resonance to do that, is extremely valuable right now.
And it's incredibly strengthening. I've only just realized in the last few months, you know, I was talking about this with my husband, when that fear happens or oppression and I get angry, that's me being triggered.
Yes.
Right? So it's in me and it's coming to life within me, right? I guess in that moment for me, it's like a confirming the delusion. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go in it and get wound up and get into the drama? Or am I going to come in back to my body? Right, where's the gap between my toes? Where's the center? Where's the end of my eyelashes? You know, am I going to choose differently? Yeah. So for me, as well as being aware of what's happening, it's also like, well, look at this opportunity I've got. Yeah. Look what's popping up in me that I never even knew was still there. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Okay, let's shift it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah? And the other thing is that we're learning that we have the authority to shift it. That's the thing, you know? And so even though I'm not suggesting that in order to have that authority, you have to be perfect in every moment, where you're like, I mastered every moment that I had anger or fear or stress or anxiety. It's never gonna happen. You're human, okay? So you're gonna get sucked in, it's gonna happen, you'll be like, right? But the point is to recognize that it's happening and that you do have the authority to shift it. And next time you'll be, you know, ready and you'll be aware. And it's about cultivating that awareness and to know that you can totally not only shift your response, but your frequency resonance, what you create, what you choose in that moment, all that ripples out. And it's strange. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but as you make that choice, literally, at least for me, I can feel, I'm like, oh, another possibility, or set of possibilities just opened that were not there before.
Exactly. Yeah, I have experienced that. Yeah. Especially, I think that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me motivated. I know I'm going to always at some point trip up, but it's what do I choose? in that moment. Because in that moment, I just created a whole new reality.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't go back to the same one that I've always known for the last 3,000 million years. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
how
true.
many lifetimes I've had.
Yeah.
I've now said yes to this new reality. Okay,
Yes.
show me. I'm ready.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, and every time you do it, it's just like you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And those realities that are better and better start to become more and more available to you. So the key in this time that's unstable is to become aware of self. So, you know, a lot of people, when they talk to me, they're like, well, what about my kids? What about my partner? What about my puppy? What about my auntie? What about my mom? What about my dad? You know, all the, because as humans, we love the people we love, and we don't want them to not, you know, get caught in whatever horrible thing that we think they might get caught in. And that's understandable. And the more you are internally strong, the higher your frequency resonance or vibration level is, the more you help them, because you present to them a higher level possibility, something that they can entrain to, so they themselves recognize their own power and can start to shift. Because it's not about doing it for them. That doesn't empower them. That disempowers them. It's really about modeling a different possibility so that they too can shift if they choose to. Now, I know this is hard for some people because they really want everyone they love to like come with them and experience all those wonderful things. You can't make someone move, meaning you can't make someone want to accelerate their own frequency resonance. They have to want to. They have to want to awaken themselves. They need to have that within them. You can't be like, okay, hurry up along. I'm just going to nag you until it happens.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No, in fact, 9 times out of 10, the opposite.
Yeah. Exactly. So as I know that can be painful for some of you, but really to focus within, because the more you work on yourself and the higher your resonance becomes, the more opportunity they have to move. And when they do, it's much faster because you've done the work that you've done, which is really kind of cool.
And I also think as well, linking in with this, once we make them choices, you know, in those moments where you've been triggered and you can go down the path, you know, the red pill, blue pill thing scenario. What happens is other people that have made that same choice move in. And so it's kind of like being buoyed by a community of people that have chosen to do something different. And understand that they're human. So I guess why I'm discussing this is some of the tools to come back to how do we navigate it would be the internal decisions that we make, and plus finding maybe a community that helps buoy and keep that, so that, you know, if I slip, somebody says, hey, hello.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you noticed that you're doing this?
Yeah.
And also to start doing the frequency work.
Yes.
Because it's really difficult to have that center if you have a whole bunch of distortion patterns running, because you could just get sucked into all these different dramas.
Yeah.
It's to do the work so that you can become internally strong, because that's where that begins, right? That all of this, because then you start to recognize a greater and greater clarity, more of that connection to the big S self, more like less triggering by other people, more aware of like the magic and the flow of life.
Yeah.
You can then surrender. Like all that stuff is linked. I'm talking about it as if it's all separate. It's not. It's all linked together in one beautiful mishmash. And the more we can rise in our vibration or rise in our frequency resonance, the more all of that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay, so we have a GFC at the end of this.
Yes. So a GFC associated with this particular episode is where the work happens for you to start to internally strengthen, to start to get the momentum so that you can not get rocked by what's happening in this moment and can shift your perspective from like, oh my God, this is happening to me. It's a disaster. How am I going to get out of it? To what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
Some people would call that mindset. It is to some degree, but it's also a different perspective that's higher in vibration or higher in resonance. So it's easier then to adapt and to rise. So that's what this GFC will do. That's associated with this particular episode. Of course, it's an introductory GFC. If you want to go deeper in this, especially at this time that's so pivotal and so chaotic and so polarized, I do recommend that you check out for Full Spectrum Coherence Mastery, because if you want to master the frequency bandwidth that's you, that would be the place to do it. And for those of you who have enjoyed this particular episode, please share it with a friend and subscribe by clicking the red button below. We're about to start the Group Frequency Calibration, or GFC, where we actually do the frequency work and where change is catalyzed.
To get to the GFC, click on the square that'll appear to the right or the link in the description below. It's time to bring in a new experience, a new consciousness, and a new world. Let's rise together.